Prydain or Pronoundar, every pony. This is BronyDan. It's not original, but hey, you try coming up with reality these days. We're all familiar with the classic 1939 movie, The Wizard of Oz. One of the greatest movies ever made. Everyone has at least seen it at some point in their lives, and it still stands the test of time with its memorable characters, the colourful world it creates, all with a charming story and classic songs. Everyone can get behind it. Now, while no one has ever dreamed or even attempted to recreate the film, people have at least attempted to try and continue the story, which does make sense, especially considering how many books that Frank L. Baum wrote. The sequel that everyone is most familiar with is of course Return to Oz from 1985, and for many it's the definitive sequel to the 1939 film. However, not many people know that there was actually an animated sequel from 1972 created by Filmation Studios. And that was Journey Back to Oz. The movie opens in Kansas on the Gales farm where they're preparing themselves for another twister.
Amos! Yep? Better get down to the pasture right away and herd those horses into the stable. That's more than a storm brewing.
Wait, Amos? What happened to Huck, Hickory, and Zeke? Did they just quit because they were fed up of Dorothy calling them by their counterparts from Oz? Speaking of Dorothy, they'd actually got none other than Liza Minnelli to provide her voice, and naturally she does a great job of impersonating her mother, Judy Garland. A decision that she would go on to later regret doing.
Oh no, Aunt Em, I'm not ailing. Although I do feel sort of, well, tingly inside.
Tingly?
Most strange and shivery.
And here's another piece of trivia. Aunt Em is actually voiced by the Wicked Witch of the West herself, Margaret Hamilton.
Child, when will you understand? There is no land of Oz, except maybe in your dream.
Anyway, Aunt Em doesn't believe Dorothy's story about Oz, so Dorothy sings a song about how she would like to leave Kansas and go to the magical land, and hey, wait a minute. They're just copying the first movie. Yes, the same situation as last time when Dorothy sang Over the Rainbow with the same intentions and style.
That star away land, that far away land.
Now, of course, I know that Liza Minnelli is a great singer, but unfortunately the song, it's not as memorable as her mother's. It feels like a carbon copy. Anyway, another twister comes and Dorothy is knocked unconscious by a gate where she and Toto get swept up and find themselves back in the land of Oz.
You know what? I don't think we're in Kansas at all. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. The yellow brick road! Toto, we're in Oz!
Shouldn't she be dead? I mean, yes, I know the same thing happened in the first movie, but at least she was in the house when the twister hit, and not outside where all the rushing wind and flying debris could kill her. Well, deciding to go to the Emerald City to meet the Scarecrow, she comes across... Jack Skellington, if he was alive and wasn't ashamed of his homosexuality.
She'll come here and find me and turn me into pumpkin pie.
Actually, this is Pumpkinhead, a jack-o'-lantern slave to the Wicked Witch Mombi, voiced by Ethel Merman, who plans to take over Oz with...
Elephants, my dear. Green elephants. A magical brew of giant green elephants. To batter down the walls of the Emerald City and scatter the troops of Oz and place Mombi on the royal throne.
That's gotta be a point over Elphaba for me. I at least make my minions from scratch. So the more you look at it, this movie is like its own unaccredited adaptation of the second book, The Marvelous Land of Oz, except Dorothy is playing the part of Tip, and here's another indication of that when they meet up with a merry-go-round horse called Woodenhead, who is supposed to be the sawhorse from the book, who had escaped from the merry-go-round after having kids be dicks, which he explains through a drunk-sounding song.
Around and round and up and down, from village to village.
I think they just got Herschel Bernardi off his tits before recording. So Woodenhead joins them as they head off to the Emerald City, where they meet up with the Scarecrow, played by former best friend of Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney.
Let me look at you. Same pigtails, same freckles, a little taller maybe, but the same lovable Care Bears.
Oh, come on. Is it mandatory now for that clip to be shown every time Mickey Rooney appears in a review now?
B-R-A-N-E spells brain.
Yeah, if you forgot what the Scarecrow's goal in the first movie was, here's a song out of nowhere to explain all that because that's what the first movie did. So they warn the Scarecrow of the impending doom just as Mombi is about to arrive.
Don't let the parade pass you by.
When do you think Mommy will get here? Well, let's see. She had to cool the brew and pour it in the molds and get them all here, so I'd say, about now.
How exactly can you get a mold big enough for an elephant? It's not cake batter. Plus, they look pretty much formed in the cauldron, just a bit small, or is it just the trunks that are completed? Well, whatever the case, the elephants crash through the Emerald City and take the Scarecrow and Toto hostage. Dorothy and her new friends manage to escape and decide to get help, so they head over to Tin Land. Kinda sounds like a crap adventure park a hobo would build in a tip, where the Tin Man rules as Emperor.
And what can I do for you? I'm Emperor around here, you know. Name it and it's yours. Within reason.
Yes, we want to ask how long was it until you realised you were Jewish? But this is the part that really bugs me, in that the characters we want to see, like Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion, deciding not to help save their friend from the clutches of another witch because they're afraid of elephants. That's it. The guys who could sneak into the Wicked Witch of the West's fortress on their own are now being held back by a phobia of pachyderms. And before anyone says, oh, well, that's just because they're magical green elephants, like they said, there is a thing called show, don't tell, and they have not shown us at any point that these elephants are magic. All they've done is stomp around and recreate the Jungle Book. If we had had them do something like, say, I don't know, shoot lasers from their tusks, you know, then I'd understand that. But without it, they are just plain elephants that have just been dyed. So after her two friends turn her down, who else could be of assistance?
Glinda! Dorothy, my dear.
Glinda, of course! Oh, wait, you're going to be just as useless here as you were in the first movie?
Mombi's evil magic is very powerful. I'll do what I can, but even good magic has its limits.
I thought so. While Glinda doesn't decide to get stuck into the battle, she does give Dorothy a small box with instructions that she must only open it when she is in the Emerald City and under dire circumstances. So with that, they turn around and head back to the city, only to have the trees under Mombi's magic come to life and attack.
From Mombi tree, go set them free, dear Hatchet, please. Go chop and lop and stop those trees.
Oh, when I said I wanted them to be merry and gay, this was not what I was expecting. So after that little detour, Mombi plans to torture the Scarecrow and Toto. But first, she sings.
If you're gonna be a witch, not a wishy-washy witch, but a witch.
Okay, this is the best song in the movie. It's got a good beat, and Ethel Merman's Broadway singing style gets used to its full advantage in this. It's kind of a shame we don't see this on any villain songs list, because it is really good.
If you're gonna be a witch, that's the pitch. Be a witch, be a witch.
However, Mombi notices her green elephants running away from...
Isn't Glinda clever? The only thing magic elephants are afraid of are magic mice.
I would bring up the old myth of elephants being afraid of mice and say how it's not completely accurate, but it's a myth that's been going on for years with no clear answer, so I'll just drop it. But the old cliché of women being afraid is fact, as the mice scare Mombi out of the castle, leaving Dorothy to come and rescue her friends. But Mombi still isn't done yet.
Oh, no one will find me now. And maybe I can still do a little damage with my poison thorns.
Yeah, a quick question. How much does an elephant weigh? Okay, that's quite a big number. So, if, say, one, or let's say a herd, were to come crashing through in a panic, what are the chances of somebody getting trampled?
They're coming this way. It's me, Mombi. Don't you see me? Go back! Go back! No!
So Mombi dies, which means all her magic dies with her, the Emerald City is returned to normal and... Oh, shit!
Pumpkinhead, oh, Pumpkinhead, what's happened to you?
Dorothy, don't forget, Mombi made him too. When she died, the enchantment was broken.
I don't care. He's my friend.
Well, that's sad. I mean, if you think about it, this could show kids how even in good deeds there could still be consequences, and we can't fix it and move on with the memory of those that we've loved and...
Hello.
Or we just ignore all I've said and bring him back to life with tears. Son of a bitch!
Oh, thank you, Glinda. You did know a way to bring him back.
No, dear. I didn't do it. You did. There's a magic stronger than Mombi's. A magic stronger than mine. The strongest magic in all the world. Faith and love.
Okay, as a Harry Potter fan, I have grown up and heard all the stuff about how love is the strongest magic in the world. Yes, I've heard all that and I've accepted it, but it cannot be this simple. I mean, at least with Harry Potter, the act of love was through a means of self-sacrifice, which acted as a shield against the forces of evil, and... yes, that sounds childish, but at least it was explained enough in a way that we could understand how it works, so therefore we believed it could work. This is just like Pokemon, the first movie, when the Pokemon all cry together and bring Ash back to life. It just feels like a cop-out. So after ridding the world of another evil, Dorothy wishes to be sent back home to Kansas. However, nobody knows how to do that.
Just a minute. According to the Constitution of Oz, Article 7, Section 9, Article 7. Anyway, a visitor to Oz may return the way he came if transportation is available.
That's kind of specific. Does that mean if you travelled to Oz on a unicycle, does that mean that you can only go back home via a unicycle? So Glinda manages to create another twister which takes Dorothy back to Kansas and the movie ends. So that was Journey Back to Oz and it's... No, it's not a bad movie, it just feels a bit bland. The movie feels like it needs to hit the exact same notes of the original in order to be good. You know, like having a song in exactly the same places. But it doesn't really need it. The reason why Return to Oz works is because while it is much darker than the original, it does do something different for it to stand out. The new characters like Pumpkinhead and Woodenhead aren't that memorable as characters. They're just sort of there in the background. They don't sort of stand out like Tin Man, the Lion and Scarecrow did in the first movie. The songs themselves aren't all spectacular. I only covered a few of them since they all come in so quickly after one another that they just sort of blend together. But, you know, there are a few good ones. Overall, if you are curious about seeing another sequel to The Wizard of Oz, you are welcome to it. Just try not to have your hopes up too high. This is BronyDan saying, Nostar, and of course we can finally get this channel back on track because thankfully My Little Pony is coming back with season 7 this weekend. And once again, I will not be here to review it. Look, I can't help it. It's just pure coincidence that these episodes come back when I'm out of the country. But like with season 6, I will get back to the episodes that I have missed in due time. So, yeah, don't expect any reviews for the next few weeks. I can't help it, but that's just the way it is. Once again, this is BronyDan saying, Nostar, see you about the 2nd of May.